It started with a knot in my back and maybe something deeper I didn't want to name. Asterisk Josh had just walked in from his evening run. Damp hair sticking to his forehead, tank top clinging to his chest. He tossed his keys into the bowl by the door and smiled like it was just another Tuesday night. For him, maybe it was asterisk rough day? He asked, grabbing a water bottle from the fridge. Asterisk I was lying face down on the couch, my shirt bunched up beneath me, fingers digging helplessly into my lower back. My spine hates me. I think I've been hunched over my laptop for 12 hours straight. Asterisk Josh chuckled and unscrewed the cap with a pop. Want a massage? I laughed, hoping he was kidding. He wasn't. Asterisk, I'm no pro, but I work wonders with these hands, he said, wiggling his fingers dramatically before kneeling by the couch. Seriously, dude? You're always tense. Asterisk, that part was true. Lately I was carrying something tight and coiled behind my ribs. I blamed. Work, deadlines, the lack of sunlight. But the truth? It had a name. Eric, asterisk, Eric was my boyfriend. 5 years together. Lately we existed like 2 pages in a book pressed too tightly together, technically adjacent, but unreadable, asterisk still. I hesitated. It's fine, I'll take a hot shower later. Asterisk Josh frowned. You sure? You've helped me out a dozen times, Leo. Let me return the favor. Asterisk something in his voice, genuine, maybe too much so, unlocked a door I'd kept sealed. And like an idiot, I stepped through. Asterisk I nodded, then flipped onto my stomach. Okay, but don't mess up my spine. I only have one. Asterisk Josh grinned, straddled the edge of the couch, and pressed his hands into my back. It was supposed to be simple, temporary, innocent, but his hands were warm and steady, kneading the tight cords of muscle like he actually knew what he was doing. My body betrayed me, first melting, sighing, easing under his touch. Then my mind followed, conjuring memories I had no right to revisit. Moments Eric and I used to share when touch meant something. When I felt chosen, asterisk Josh worked in silence, his thumbs pressing gently into the dip between my shoulder blades. I could feel his breath when he leaned closer. I could hear the soft rhythm of his breathing, the shift of his jeans against the couch, and I felt something dangerous. Better? He asked after a few minutes, not looking at me. Asterisk, yeah, I whispered. Unsure if I meant my back or something else. Asterisk, he stood, stretched his arms overhead, and wandered toward the kitchen like he hadn't just left my skin tingling, like this. Wasn't a line crossed or maybe just brushed against? Asterisk, I sat up slowly, heart rattling in my chest like loose change in a jar. Josh was humming to himself, pouring cereal into a bowl. Like nothing had happened. Asterisk, maybe nothing had happened. But I'd felt it, the quiet electricity, the breath I'd held. The split second I considered turning over just to see what he'd do. I hated myself for it. That night, I lay in bed scrolling through old texts from Eric. I read the last one he'd sent 2 hours ago. Miss you. Call if you're up? I didn't call. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, the scent of eucalyptus oil still clinging to my skin, and tried to remember the last time Eric touched me without distraction, without sighing, without feeling like we were checking a box. Asterisk I told myself it was just a massage, but I already knew better. When I finally slept, I dreamt I was underwater, arms outstretched, reaching for someone whose face I couldn't see. When I woke up, my pillow was damp, and the sun was already rising. Josh's bedroom door was cracked open across the hall. I closed mine quietly. Asterisk Josh didn't bring up the massage. And I pretended it never happened, but it did. It lived just beneath the surface, between the jokes we threw across the living room and the pauses we let stretch a second too long. He still walked around shirtless after his runs, still flopped on the couch beside me like nothing had changed. But everything had. Asterisk, the next few days blurred. Eric FaceTimed once and I lied about being busy. I couldn't look at him without seeing Josh's hands on my back, couldn't hear his voice without remembering the silence afterward, how Josh had touched me and walked away like it meant nothing. Asterisk. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I was the only one shaken. Asterisk, but that didn't stop. What happened next? Asterisk, it was Thursday night. Josh had just gotten back from the gym, hair soaked through his baseball cap. He peeled off his tank top, threw it in the laundry, then plopped beside me on the couch. The scent of sweat and citrus filling the room, asterisk, "You look fried," he said, nudging me with his knee, asterisk, end of quarter reports. "My eyes are melting," I muttered, sinking lower into the cushions. Asterisk, he grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, handed me one. "You need another massage?" The question was casual, but something in his eyes said it wasn't entirely a joke. I froze. Gripped the cold bottle tighter. "Do you always offer massages to your roommates?" Asterisk, Josh smirked. "Only the cute ones." Asterisk, he said it with a grin, but his gaze lingered. My mouth went dry. Asterisk, I told myself it was still harmless. "Just banter," asterisk. "Okay," I said, half laughing. "But if you paralyze me, I'm haunting your ass." Asterisk, he patted the couch. "Turn around." Asterisk, I hesitated. Then I did. Asterisk, I turned and leaned. Forward, elbows on knees, shirt pulled slightly up. Asterisk, his hands returned firm, confident. They found the knots like they remembered them, but this time his touch didn't feel neutral. It lingered, explored, his fingers pressed just a little. Too low, brushed just a little too long. I didn't stop him. Instead, I leaned back slightly. Invited it, asterisk, my breath slowed, my skin heated. The silence between us thickened, like the air before a summer storm, asterisk, his fingers slid along my side. I turned my head to speak, maybe to laugh, maybe to warn him, and found his face closer than I expected. Close enough that I saw the hesitation flicker behind his eyes. He didn't move. Neither did I. Then he kissed me. Soft at first. A question, not a command. But I answered it. I kissed him back. It wasn't clumsy. It wasn't drunk. It was too deliberate for either of us to deny. One hand on my cheek, the other on my waist. My heart thudded against my ribs. I let him pull me down to the couch. "Let our legs tangle. Let the moment unravel." Asterisk, I should've. Stopped, said something. Mentioned Eric, but I didn't. My body moved faster than my guilt. The heat in Josh's breath, the press of his chest, the ache in me that had long gone ignored all of it, consumed the voice in my head whispering, "This is a mistake." Asterisk, when it was over, I lay there staring at the ceiling, heartbeat skipping. In aftershocks. Josh rolled onto his back beside me, exhaled slowly, and said nothing. The silence stung more than I expected. "Was that okay?" I asked, voice smaller than I liked. Asterisk, he blinked at the ceiling. Yeah, man. Just don't make it weird, all right?" We both laughed, but the sound died quickly. Josh stood and stretched, then headed to the bathroom, closing the door behind him with a soft click. Asterisk, I sat alone on the couch, naked under a throw blanket, heart bruised and beating. Asterisk, my phone buzzed. A message from Eric. Asterisk, "Good night, baby. Love you." I stared at the screen until it dimmed. I didn't reply. Asterisk. The morning after felt nothing like the night before. Asterisk, Josh was already gone when I woke up, his bed neatly made, the apartment eerily quiet, no post-coffee clatter, no lazy humming from the kitchen, just the tick of the clock on the wall and the ache behind my ribs that I couldn't stretch away. Asterisk, I stared at the ceiling, my phone heavy in my hand. Asterisk, Eric had sent a photo. A breakfast he'd made, eggs, toast, a heart-shaped smear of jam. "Thinking of you." Asterisk, I couldn't even fake a reply. I closed the app and tossed the phone aside. Asterisk, what did I expect? Josh to crawl back into bed, kiss my neck, whisper that we needed to talk? Asterisk, instead, he avoided me for the next 2 days. Like he had folded that night into a drawer and shut it with both hands. Asterisk, "Hey," I said finally when I caught him in the hallway, towel over one shoulder, hair still damp. Asterisk, "Hey," he said, eyes barely meeting mine. Asterisk, "We okay?" I asked. Trying to sound casual. Asterisk, he shrugged. "Yeah, totally, we were drinking. Things happen." Asterisk, "Things?" I echoed, the word sour in my mouth. Asterisk, he didn't bite. Just nodded and walked past me into the bathroom, door shutting with a firm, polite click. Asterisk, so that was it. A thing that happened, an event filed under accidents. Something to forget, except I couldn't. Later that evening, I found myself staring at Eric's contact again. My thumb hovered over the call button. Then I scrolled through old pictures of us. On the lake last summer, his arm around me, both of us laughing in sunlight I barely remembered. I thought about how I used to count the minutes until I saw him again. Now. I counted how long I could avoid his voice. When he called me that night, I let it ring out. Then he texted, "You're distant lately. Everything okay?" I stared at the blinking cursor. I wanted to say, "I cheated. I betrayed you for someone who doesn't even want me back." Instead, I typed, "Just tired. Work's insane." Then hit send. It was cowardly, but the truth would have broken him. And me, that night, Josh and I ended up in the living room again. A movie playing low in the background, neither of us really watching. The silence between us had thickened not with tension, but indifference. I didn't know which hurt more. "I'm moving out," I said, not looking at him. Josh glanced at me, surprised, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, I figured." I waited for a question. "Oh, why? Don't." None came. "I can't stay here pretending." "It didn't mean something," I added, voice thinner than I liked. Josh exhaled and looked down at the bottle in his hands. "I'm not saying it didn't. I'm just not built for complicated stuff." I wanted to ask what he was built. For casual flings with no consequences? Roommates with blurred lines? But I stayed quiet. There was no point anymore. A week later, my boxes were packed. The couch still smelled faintly like cologne and shared nights. I stood in the doorway one last time, expecting to feel grief. What I felt was tired. Josh helped me load the last box into the car. We didn't hug. Didn't promise to stay in touch. As I slid into the driver's seat, he leaned on the window frame. "Leo," he said, voice soft. I looked up. He opened his mouth, like he might say something important, then stopped. "Drive safe," he said instead. I nodded. As I pulled away, the city stretched wide in front of me, blank streets, blinking lights. The echo of choices I couldn't undo. Eric was still in my phone. Still waiting. I wasn't ready to call him. Not yet, maybe not ever. But I knew this. The ache I'd carried wasn't cured, just exposed. Infidelity didn't erase loneliness. Amplified it. And in the end, the person I betrayed the most was myself.